second episode of Talking with Trista. This is our table talk episode. The title today and discussion will be Toxic Relationships, Not Doing It God's Way. Now I have three very special guests with me, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves momentarily. But what I want you to do for me are four things right quick. I want you to first comment where you're watching from. Second, I want you to tag and invite a friend to come watch this video. The third thing I want you to do is to get your questions ready, because later on we're going to have a question and answer segment where you can actually send questions in to any panelists up here, and you can actually do that right there on our Talking with Trista page. Go ahead and send your messages now. And last, I want you to just stay tuned because we have a giveaway coming up, but you must watch to win. Okay, now I want to thank you all for just being here on this Table Talk edition. And I want you all to introduce yourselves, starting from my right to left.
All right. Well, I'm Johnnie Rose.
And I'm Rachel Waden.
And I'm Aaron Vaughn.
Okay. And I'm Trista Overby. I'm not sure if I introduced myself earlier, but nonetheless, how y'all doing today?
Oh, doing
Good. Okay, y'all, we're going to go ahead and get started. Again, our topic is toxic relationships, not doing it God's way. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is just looking in our world today, in our generation, in society. How do y'all feel about just the whole dating game and just how people handle relationships today?
Wow, that's a difficult topic because there's really no such thing, I think, as dating anymore.
Right.
We all just willy-nilly alone, just trying to figure out what it is that we're all doing.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think there's such thing as dating, so to speak.
Right.
But I could be wrong.
How do you feel about it, Rachel? Because I know you're married, but just what you're observing nowadays, what do you think about it?
I think it's a mess. Because, like he stated, people aren't really dating.
Right.
They're kind of just doing their own thing,
Mm-hmm.
and there's no order or structure to dating anymore.
Right.
And everything's just out of order, and so when people are getting married, they do things so out of order that's why you see a lot of marriages failing.
Right. And why do you think that is, Aaron?
Well, I think I guess I would say that I think it goes back to examples set by parents, by relatives, by others, and really and truly the responsibility of it, or I guess education. You know, to me, to answer your first question, I really do believe that the idea of dating, the idea of relationships, and even the aspirations of marriage are far different than they once were. And you know, as a pastor and as a reverend, I think that I would also say that I think it also falls on the responsibility not only of the family, but even more so the church.
Right.
Yes.
And I don't think that we've been doing enough to, as pastors, preachers, and leaders in the church, to really demonstrate and make it a point to let folks know how important it is to be in a godly designed family unit person, and to include your esteem.
That's good. Now, Rachel, I know in the first episode you talked a little bit about what a godly relationship is or what it should look like. Just recap that for us, for those watching now. Pretty much, what is a godly relationship, or shall I say, what is the way how did God intend for relationships to be?
Well, the woman is to be a helpmeet for the man. But also, when you look at how God did things in the beginning with Adam, he created Adam first. And Adam was established before woman came into the picture. He had his name, he had a title, and then also he had responsibility, he had a job. And so once God seen that he was able to manage those things, then he said, now you should have a woman. And now when you look at the world, there's a lot of men, they're not established before having I know that they want relationships, but everyone does. But they're not established within themselves, and then they're trying to date. And so they're trying to figure out themselves and figure out, and it's hard to do that. So I think it's so important to know who you are first in Christ before you try to get into a relationship.
Right, that's good.
That's really good.
Yeah. Now, why do y'all think that godly relationships or Christ-centered relationships aren't popular today?
Well, there's really not a lot of good examples out there.
Right.
We don't see I'm trying to think of who popular that's married Christian gospel wise. We don't see a lot of that. We see the Jay-Z and Beyonce. We see the Amber Rose and Kanye or whoever he's married to now. We see all of that. So we don't see anybody out there who has that godly relationship to where we can, mimic after.
Right. That's good. Okay, now, was there ever a time that you found yourself in a toxic relationship outside of God's will for yourself?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, let's talk about that.
I don't want to go first.
Well, I'll speak a little bit. For those who know me, I've always been kind of shy and sort of reserved, so to speak. So I haven't really dated or, whatever you want to call it. But I have found myself in, I don't even want to say friendships, because I don't even think they were really friendships, just more so of, it's something that you said on the last show, playing with, just people to entertain you, so to speak.
Right.
I found myself in situations like that. And of course, for me, that's not God's will, for you to just play with people's emotions or just, dibble and dabble in things just so you won't be bored. So I found myself doing things like that, which was outside of God's will for my life. But to be honest, even though I'm almost 34, I haven't really been in relationships. Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
I think that's awesome.
I'm also pretty reserved and pretty shy.
Yeah.
People don't believe that I'm shy, but I am very shy. Anyway, but I'm a pretty reserved person. I'm a very private person.
Right.
And a lot of things that I do. As a matter of fact, my family gets mad. So why you keep everything? She said, "It's like I just, I tell you what I choose to tell you. I just don't. It's just me." So, but to stay on point, I think the first thing is just understanding why I want to be in a relationship.
Right.
You understand? Or to really define what type of relationship that is. And much like you, Trista, I tell everybody, I'm single, I'm 34, but I enjoy being single.
Right.
I hear people asking on Facebook, man, why am I still single? I'm not asking that. Right? I'm like,
exactly.
Thank you, Lord. But I also tell folks, I don't mind waiting a lifetime.
Right.
For my forever. I don't mind waiting a lifetime for my forever. And what that means is, I know what I'm looking for. Right. I know who I am, much like you said a minute ago.
Yeah.
I know who I am. Right. And so knowing who I am, I know what I won't say settle for, but I know what my standards are for who I'm going to walk with in life. And I hope I'm not getting off point.
No, you're good.
But so after identifying who that is, that I'm looking for, when I see her, I tell folks when I see her, when she's there, she's there, and I'll know. There won't be a question of it, and I'll tell you I'm so excited for when that day comes. But in the meantime, it's just really just being who I am, setting the standard of God, and trying to be that example as we talked about for others to see. We don't have a lot of examples, as you said,
right.
Johnny, and a part of that is, sometimes like I said, I'm guilty of it. We do keep a lot of our issues and concerns and stuff like that behind closed doors.
Right.
And so even those relationships, 40, 50-year-old relationships that we're seeing in churches, that we're seeing in the community, a lot of us in today's society, in our generation, we think that everything's supposed to be good all of the time.
Right.
We think that the woman is going to, for us guys, some of us think the woman's supposed to be there for us, but we can go out there and do whatever we want to do. Not so much. I I'm not saying the guys in the church, but I know it's that way in the church too. But we think that the wife is supposed to just accept anything while we go out, and a lot of time we don't, like you said, know who we are going into a relationship. And so like the saying goes, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything.
Right.
And unfortunately, that's what a lot of our relationships have become, and that's why a lot of our relationships, or what we're talking about today, toxic relationships, have become, because we don't start out with the dating. We don't start out getting to know. We don't start out setting standards of expectation for how we want to move forward. We are just playing a game. Really, we are just playing a game, maintaining until we find that one. And I do like to date, but
let's just put that out
I do like to date. I do like to go out, but for me, the understanding is we are just enjoying each other's company right now. We're enjoying each other, you know, as call it friendship, whatever, you know, but we're enjoying each other's friendship right now. And when that relationship, if this becomes that, then we'll know, we'll talk about it. But I'm not bringing you into this assuming one thing and I'm thinking something else. You know, so right now I go out on dates, go out to the movies, go out of town sometime, do different things, and I enjoy it.
Right. And you know, it's something you said earlier, similar to just the foundation being off and how it's like we're dating the wrong way. But when you all say that starts within the homes, so to speak, you know, there's so many single parent homes, you know, the foundation is just all rocky and the children are getting like the poor examples, and so it's just, you know, spiraling down, so to speak. So it's like people don't really know even what a relationship is because we're not seeing that.
Right. One thing that I wanted to touch on that you said earlier was, you know, even the examples in the church, you know, as a pastor or a minister, I feel like there's a lot of things that is just accepted in the church. We'll know someone is in a relationship, we know that they might be fornicating or shacking up or whatever the case may be, but people are too afraid to address things because they're afraid of losing membership, or they're afraid of offending someone. But it's better to be obedient and say something as a leader than to accept it, because what you allow in the church, just like what you allow in your own home, it will kind of just mess everything up. And so one thing that I have told myself is just be bolder and to stand up for God's design and what he wants from relationships in the church and then people in our lives.
That's good.
And touch on what you said too, Rachel. Right is right and wrong is wrong. And we got to call out for what it is. Even, you know, in the church or outside of the church. I mean, certain things as single persons we cannot do, especially God-centered persons. We can't do that because we don't want that image to be out there to say, hey, you know what? Johnny says he's such and such a person, but at his house, he's somebody totally different. He's got somebody living in his house. We don't want that kind of image, you know.
That's true.
So we just got to be able to, as Rachel and as my brother here said, that we got to be able to call these things out.
Right.
I mean, and let me say this and clean it. Called out in love.
Right. That's good. That's
called out in love.
Yeah, that's good. And I know you were going to say something earlier, Johnny, but you said you didn't want to go first on that situation.
Well, I think we've all had, you know, even in friendships, whether it's been relationships, whatever, that's probably had some toxic relationships or whatever. Not doing it God's way. You know, God beats you up when he knows that you're not doing something, and especially when you know that you're not doing the right thing. Of course, he beats you up. I've been in probably one very, very toxic relationship. Don't want to go too much into detail, but it was crazy, and I ended up being crazy along with it. So, you know, you got to be able to know your limits, know exactly you know, how far to go into this thing, and, you know, reel yourself back in.
True. I've been crazy too.
You know, you do that sometimes. You know, guys, we do it too. We do the drive-bys. I mean, we do drive-bys every once in a while. So once you get down to that point to know, hey, if I have to do this,
right,
I got to get out of this.
Right, and that's good. Now, just being in that situation, what do you feel you were going through at that time in your life?
Oh man,
Was it like rejection? Like what were you dealing with?
It was a combination of a lot of things.
Yeah.
Rejection, wanting to be loved by the right woman,
Right.
just really wanting that companionship at that time. You know, all my friends at that point were getting married. I'm in my 30s now, so I really at that point I was like, you know what, man, this is the life. I want the house and the picket fence and the kids and the dogs. And at that point, that's what I wanted, and that's what I thought I was missing.
Right.
But on this side of this single life, I'm loving it.
Right. Right. It's a great thing. Yeah, it really is. And what bothers me sometimes is when people they want to speed through the singleness, but this is the time when you can, first of all, know who you are.
Exactly.
You know who you are, know who you are in God. You know, do so many things for the kingdom. It's just a great time of preparation that so many people they forfeit by rushing and just not taking that time out. But just anyone else, what were you dealing with? You didn't share it, did you, Rachel?
I didn't, but I agree with you.
Oh,
you
go
know,
ahead.
being single is nice, but when you go all the way back to Adam and Eve, Adam wasn't the one saying, "Oh, I need a woman now." God said, "Now
Say that.
I'm going to give you a woman."
That's
You
that
know,
right there,
and
preach.
so when you think about it, because you said, you know, a lot of times people feel like they're missing something,
Right.
So they feel like they need to fill that void with a woman or a man. But what you're missing is that relationship with God,
Right.
because when you have that relationship with God, you can just relax and chill and be single and live your life and accomplish your goals and not feel like you're missing anything, because that void is filled. And then God will see that you're working, especially as a man. He'll see that you're working, and he knows the right timing to bring that person into your life.
Right.
And then he's going to be like, okay, so now I'm going to give him a woman, because he's the man that he's working hard to be the man that I want him to be.
Right.
And you touched on something earlier about he got to first have a job. See, God didn't give Adam a wife when he was just, out there with me. He had a job and he was stable.
Yes.
And, he was doing some work for the Lord.
Right.
And so that's what we all miss too. We miss that moment we have to introduce ourselves to ourselves.
Yes.
We gotta love ourselves and love God. So
Right. That's good. That's good. Now, this is a question that I want you all to be honest on, and for those watching, you can be honest on this question too. If you want to comment your response, go ahead and do that. But have you ever been the toxic party in the relationship? Because everybody want to play victim. Oh, woe is me. They did this to me. They did that to me. But no one wants to fess up and take the responsibility for being the one who did the damage.
Right.
Let's be honest here.
Oh yeah. We all want to play that victim role like you stated, but we don't want to be the villain in that. So I can be 100 honest. We've all can say that we've done some things, some questionable things that make people a little crazy. So I'm gonna go with yes on that one, Tristan.
I've been a hot mess before too.
Okay.
I was a real hot mess, but
just going back to you, Johnny, in that relationship where you found yourself in that was outside of God's will, what was that wake up moment for you when you said, okay, enough is enough, I need to abort this? Like, did something happen, or you just got tired of being tired? What was it?
It was going to be a combination of a lot of things.
Right.
Tired of being tired, tired of just in my mind thinking about, okay, what's going on now?
Right.
I never forget the time I was coming from Jamaica and wanted to see her when I got back, and I didn't get a phone call back. I never got that was my call. Then I was like, you know what? Something's not right. So, let me go ahead and just get out of this now before I get really, really, really crazy and end up on Winkles Road or somewhere. So, let me just get out of this. And at that point, I actually was working in the law profession, so I didn't want, that craziness following behind me. So,
Yeah. You want to say something?
Well, I was just going to say, and I think this touched on something that Johnny said earlier, and you had asked about the different emotions that you were going through during that toxic relationship. And one that I think, a lot of us sometimes overlook, particularly for us guys, for me, is a sense of pride.
Yeah.
Like, oh man, you get pride.
Yeah.
And I actually, I'll say, and I'll just say to me, to a degree, I guess I used to equate toxic relationship to the ones that I could not, or I were not so much in control of in terms of how they ended or what have you, because I mean, I like to get along with everybody. I've arrested people as a police officer, got along with them afterward, so I like to get along with people, but the relationships where we did not get along, there's a few, or I won't say a few, there's more than two, but yeah, that sense of pride. I'm just, and I'll tell you what, it will make you do some crazy things.
You lose your mind.
And not so much even like stalkish type stuff. Not like the stalkish stuff all the time. But even more like I've in hindsight looked back and I had a woman ask me one time, like, why do y'all guys do the things y'all do when a woman breaks up with y'all? And it's like, I think one thing we oftentimes don't do, men and women, we're not honest enough with each other.
That's good.
We're not honest enough with each other about our emotions. Men love just as hard as women do. Men share the same emotions that women do. And when a relationship doesn't work out, regardless of how hard that man might try to be, that man has invested time in it and he cares just as much. So he might respond to it in a different way. But I've literally looked back at things and been like, man, you know what? I literally checked out of so many things. And I call it like I could just see myself scratching at a wall of dirt, trying to dig my way out, but I'm constantly doing something, so I'm taking my mind off of what I'm going through. And so I guess to answer the issue of toxic relationships, when you are losing much more than you are receiving, it's time for you to evaluate that relationship. Much like, and that's friendship, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife. If there's two types of people I heard a saying, I'm not going to say I agree, but I heard the saying and I'm going to use it. You've got your leeches,
right, and
you've got your electric cords. And the relationship that I'm looking for and the relationship that I know God has designed for me is the one of an electric cord, where it's constantly providing energy, constantly providing juice. That means that I don't have to give something, all right? Doesn't mean that it's not going to take work, but it's not going to drain me.
Right.
It's not going to leave me feeling like I'm giving everything, and I'm getting nothing in return. So, and I've been on the receiving end of that, and I've been the giver of that. But the godly relationship that I think we're leading toward and going to be talking about today is the one where we are the electric cord.
Right. And we're going to finish talking, but what I want you all to do, just to remind you all to send in your questions. If you have any questions for anyone up here, go ahead and send in your questions on our messages right now on the page, okay? Now, what I wanted to ask next was, what type of consequences have you all dealt with for stepping outside of God's will, doing things that He didn't instruct you to do when it came to relationships? Like, what were some consequences that you dealt with?
I guess y'all looking at me. Well, some consequences. I say I lost a good bit of money. So, that's a consequence.
Money, time.
Yeah, money, time. Something that you can't get back at that time. That's some big consequences.
For me, as a woman, because you're talking about pride, I feel like there's a sense of pride in women also because, for me, when women, a lot of times, we are emotional, and there's nothing wrong with that. Because I feel like you, in a sense, when you're able to be emotional, then you're able to really hear God also.
Right.
Because there's a sensitivity and openness that comes with that part of things. But if you use it out of the will of God, it can be bad for you.
Right.
So for me, it was like trying to do everything. Like, women who are dating now, don't try to act like a wife when you don't even have a title or a ring. I see so many women doing that. They invest money, signing, being co-signers, doing a lot of things, and then when the man breaks up, it's like
mad.
you're mad. But that's why you have to listen to God, and sometimes all the signs will be there, but because we want love so bad, we will ignore them.
Yeah.
Because I was crazy when I was dating. I was toxic, and I found myself doing things that I was coming out of myself, and that's why I had to step back from these things. Because when I really waited for God to bring my husband into my life, everything was different.
Yeah.
He was established within himself. He was there. I never had to worry about him playing games or anything, and it was nothing but God, because it was that peace to be able just to be in a relationship and just be happy.
Right.
And it's just such a difference.
Yeah.
But them relationships, they was something else.
You know, you said something I want to piggyback on. I really love that about you. You said when you allowed your husband to come in. And see, one thing that I'm bothered by sometimes is that the Bible does say this. The Bible says when a man finds it.
Right.
As women, and I can't speak for women because I'm not a woman, but women shouldn't be looking for that man.
Yeah.
Allow us to introduce ourselves to you and you know, just go from there.
Right.
When that man finds it, then, I mean, at that point, then you can say, you know what? I think I may have him.
And you know, and that's how you know. If a man is pursuing you, that's how you know as a woman that he is interested in you. If you're the one that's calling him, or you're the one initiating everything, you're the one that's like, oh, can we spend some time together? Or how about we go to a movie? Then he may not be that interested in you. You know, he just might not be trying to do that. And there's a difference if you're trying to be a wife or you're trying to be a husband. There's things that you're gonna there's standards and things that you're gonna set for yourself so that a relationship can go forth into that direction. If you just get in with no plan, no nothing, you just dating, there's no structure, it can go left or right. So you have to establish boundaries and everything when you get into a relationship. And as a woman, don't give so much of yourself. Don't be giving your body. Don't be giving too much of. You have to have yourself guarded to a sense. You know, you should still be able to receive love, but you should also not be giving so much of yourself that you're not able to hear God's instruction.
Right. And you actually hit on a question that I had later on, saying why is it so important for us to establish boundaries and standards in relationships, and you hit on that some already. Anyone else want to add on to that?
I mean, if I don't know where I'm going, I'll never know when I get there. And so if I don't, and I'm talking to men and women because I think that, guys, we got some conversations we need to be having with our young men about how to treat a woman, but also more importantly, how to treat themselves. What it means to live beyond your own interests, your own desires, but to live according to God's standard. But you know, if I go into a relationship and I don't have any standards established for myself, or say a young lady, I'll take a young lady for example. Say a young lady goes into a relationship with a guy, and he might be pursuing her, but for all of the wrong reasons, which is why it's important to know who you are in God. But he's pursuing you. He's saying, "Oh, I love you," telling you all of the right things and doing all of the right things. But the standards that you set for yourself is, I'm not going to allow myself to be disrespected. All right. I'm not going to allow myself to give of my body before I'm ready to, before I am married. You know, when you set those standards, if that guy that you're with or that girl that you're with is having discussed the standards, and they are still trying to get you trying to chip away at the things that you say are important to you, then that should be your first sign to say, this is not the relationship that God has for me, and not that I want for myself, but that God has for me. God is going to do everything decent and in order. And he is not going to send you someone, regardless of how your body might feel, regardless of what your mind might say, and I'm just keeping it real. All right, but God is not going to send you somebody that's going to that's going to make you disrespect and
That's
disobey
right.
who He has called you to be,
Yeah.
and even the plan He has for your life.
Mm-hmm.
Johnny, you said earlier that God will whip you behind.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I think of God like a father. You know, my niece, I don't have children, but my niece and nephew, I'm kind of like their father. And when they step outside of the desires that God has given me for them, so that they can become successful, so that they can reach their potential.
Yes.
You know, I've got a responsibility to chasten that behind. You know, in whatever way, however I do it. It might be punishment. It might be however. All right. And so, all right. And so, I just say however. Amen. And so, God also does the same thing. And it's not, we got to get out of this mindset that when God puts us through things, He hates us or He's upset with us.
Right.
He's doing it because He loves us.
Right.
Humble yourselves to the will of God.
Yeah.
Trust His timing and trust who He has for you. And I promise you, if you're willing to wait a lifetime, if you're willing to wait a lifetime for that forever, I promise you it's going to be the most beautiful thing that you can ever imagine.
Yeah.
And if not, just the imagination is good.
Right. Right.
Okay. Now, this is for the singles. Sorry.
Sorry, Rachel.
Just on this Christian journey, what has been the hardest thing for you, just personally on this journey, just dealing with, not being in a relationship, trying to get in a relationship, whatever you're trying to do at this moment in your life, what has been the hardest thing for you just on this journey?
Well, I wouldn't say that anything is really hard per se. I'm a loner.
Yeah.
I don't mind traveling alone. I don't mind going out to dinner alone, going to movies, whatever. So really nothing is that hard for me. It's just that you got those persons that want to throw themselves at you. And at that point, you got to understand, that ain't God. So, let me step back for a moment. Let me evaluate the situation and see what, the Lord is really saying.
Right.
And that's one reason why I am a loner, because I don't ever want to get to a place to where I don't understand or hear the voice of God during that time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anything, what do you find to be hard for you, Aaron, just
The
on
hardest,
this journey?
the hardest thing for me
Uh-huh.
are people.
Uh-huh.
And I'm going to tell you what I mean. We still live as a society. We still live with this expectation of what a marriage, relationships used to be.
Yeah.
We still have this idea of husband, wife, picket fence.
Yeah, it's only my vision.
Yeah, well, and that's great. That's a great relationship. However, nothing of what we do in today's society, for the most part, leads up to that type of relationship.
That's true.
We are not dating. We're not getting to know the
Right.
person before we get married. We just, we sleeping with folks, sleeping with each other as something to do.
Yeah.
With no thought behind it. Versus this is something we've got to work toward. And understand that is a mile marker in that relationship. When you get to that point where y'all have been, or you are married, and I'm going to say you're married, even though I know a lot of us aren't when we do it, but when you get that relationship, when you get to that point in your, I'm keeping it real.
You gotta be 100. Yeah.
Can we keep it 100? I'm keeping it 1,000. All right? But when we get to that point in the relationship, when we're giving of ourselves in that way, you ought to know that person so well.
Right.
And you ought to know that your life can be built with that person. But instead, because we're not modeling it after the model that God has given us, we're having children. And then we can't stand the person that we're with. We're calling them baby mama. The child is learning this. And so, and the challenge for me has been, and I ask this question all the time, people, if you're single at the age of 30, 34, 40, a lot of times society is looking at you and saying, what's wrong?
Yes.
And so the problem I had to stop asking, which they don't, because they know, I'll tell them what I think. No, I'm just kidding. But the thing is, there does not have to be anything wrong for you to be 30, 40, and single. Especially when you know why you're being single, why you're single.
Right.
And so And I think this is a great example of single life and happy life.
Oh yeah.
Amen. And married life and happy life when you're doing it in God's time.
Right.
Because I don't want to be married either just because somebody told me to. And I certainly don't want to be married. And every day I go home and it's a struggle.
Exactly.
You know, because there's enough struggles in the world. So, and for me, that's what marriage ought to be. A godly wife, me being a godly husband, accountable to more than myself. And it should be bliss. When you're weak, I'm strong. When I'm strong, when I'm weak, you're strong. And because we're strong as individuals, we're even stronger when we come together.
Right.
Amen.
That's good. That's good. That's good. You want to add something, Rachel?
I do.
Okay. I heard you take a deep breath.
Well, you know, even with being single and then with being married, there's still there's still challenges because there's some single people that are trying to pursue married people.
Yeah.
And you know, and I've heard
vice versa too.
Vice versa. And so you know you can't be doing that. But because even with being married and even to say, well, I'm married, I've had people say, so? And it's like, what you mean so? You know?
Right.
But the biggest thing is you have to be patient and wait for your wife or your husband. You can't be trying to, you're not going to be blessed by trying to pursue someone else's husband or wife that's already in a union.
That's not yours.
That's not yours. It's not going to be blessed.
Right.
It's not going to happen that way.
Right. That's good. That's good. So what was the greatest lesson that you would say that God taught you for being in these toxic relationships and outside of his will, not doing it his way?
Okay. I would actually say that he taught me to be more kind. Taught me to be more patient with myself. Also taught me to be more patient with him.
Yeah.
God does things in his timing, so we actually have to succumb to what he wants for us to do in his timing.
Yeah.
It taught me to be more loving to myself as well. It taught me how to love myself in the midst of being in something toxic and bad.
Right.
Something comes out good.
That's good.
So, and that's what came out good for me, loving myself, being kind and more generous and all that when it came down to that.
That's good. That's good. Anyone else want to add anything to that?
I learned how to fight for myself. A lot of times when you're in relationships with people that are toxic, sometimes we tend to fight for them. And that is a good indication that that's somebody that God doesn't want you to be with in the first place. If they're trying to pull away from you or they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing to fulfill your need in that relationship. And so if you feel like you're constantly fighting for this person's attention and time, then it's a good indication that you need to let that relationship go.
Right.
Because you're losing yourself.
Right.
And so I learned how to fight for myself and to have better respect for myself and to keep the standard that I set for myself, because when I started to lower my standard and accept things, then I started to deal with more mess than I really needed to in the first place.
Right. That's good. That's good. Aaron, anything you want to add on, or you just agree?
I agree with both of them, and especially to fight for yourself. Fight for your standards, and don't be so quick to allow others to encourage you to do things that you know are not of who you are and not of who God is in you.
Right. And Aaron, I want you to answer this last question as well. If there's someone out there watching and they found themselves in a toxic relationship, what is some advice you can give to them on how they can come into a godly relationship, or how they can just refocus themselves to have more Christ-centered relationships?
The suggestion that I would give, or what I would tell them, is go in your bathroom and not being funny, but really go in the bathroom and take a good look in the mirror and just ask yourself, who do you see? Who do you see? And the hope is that you will see the God in you, not what society has told you are, not what this boyfriend, this girlfriend has told you could be, not what you begin to believe of yourself, but just really look and focus on who you are, who God is in you. What do you think about yourself? And then go and read that word. Read the word of God. And make sure that what you see of yourself and who you believe God to be in your life, make sure that that's in line with what the word says. And strive to live according to what the word of God says, and change the person. If it's someone that you don't like, if you've done something that you know you should not have done, try to line up that person in the mirror with the person you see in work.
Right, that's good. That's good. That's good. So that ends. Oh, did you want to say something, Rachel? I'm sorry. I saw your finger.
I did. You know, one thing to touch on him. You know, God's always going to give you a way out of the situation, especially if it's not what He wants for you.
Exactly.
Because there's so many people, they'll stay in leases with people because they're like, well, I don't have the money to, or I don't want to break this lease, or I'm going to, like, God's going to give you a way out, and you have to trust Him to get you out of the situation. Because if it's a financial bind, if you trust Him enough, He just wants to know that you want what He wants for you. So if you're like, Lord, I'm in this lease, I'm staying with somebody I shouldn't be staying with, and I need to get out of the situation because I went to the bathroom, I looked at myself, and everything that I'm looking at, I know that it's not what you want for me, then you need to take action and then just trust God to just work it out for you.
Right.
But you have to make the first step to do it.
That's good. That's good. That's good. So that ends our conversation for today. Now we're going to move on into our question and answer segment. We have a few questions from our page. The first question is for Rachel. They actually watched the first episode you were on, and their question is, how long have you been married, and how did you meet your husband?
I've been married for 3 years. I met my husband on a dating site. And that's a funny story because we were both actually getting off the site, and it was a last minute thing where we kind of messaged each other, and it wasn't as though we were having the intent on really even dating or anything, but we had messaged each other. Well, he had messaged me, and he asked me if I wanted to get lunch. And so it was more so a friendship thing. It wasn't a whole bunch of questions. It was just like, would you like to just get lunch? And there we talked, and we had a good conversation, but it wasn't love at first sight. And that's one thing that I was grateful that it wasn't love at first sight, because I felt like if it would have been, then I would have found myself in the same positions that I had found myself in before with, oh my gosh, he looks good. And then second date, how about you come over and we watch a movie, and you know how that goes. And so I feel like God covered me, and in this situation, He allowed me to take off my shallow shades and to look at some, because I used to wear shallow shades. If a person didn't look a certain way, because in my mind I was gonna be with this big 6'6" football player, and he gave me that, but it was a hot mess. And my husband was the exact opposite of what I was looking for.
Shout out to all the short people. Now.
He was the exact opposite of what I was looking for, but he loved me like I had never been loved before, and he treated me in such a way that I had never been treated before, and it was because he was doing it in God's way.
That's good. That's good. That's good. Now we have another question. Now this can be for any of the men. Why is it so hard for men to hold themselves accountable?
I'll give the floor to Mr. Aaron.
I think it's hard first and foremost, men don't hold themselves accountable,
right,
because society doesn't hold us accountable.
Right.
You know, really and truly, I think that a lot of times we're going to give what you're asking for.
Right.
You know, if you don't give us a standard to live up to, then we're going to set the standard for ourselves. And a lot of time we're going to take the easy road out. And so I would just suggest that as men and as women, as society, we start to hold each other more accountable, but more importantly, we hold our men accountable.
Right.
Because whether we recognize it or not, particularly as men, we are a strong foundation. We are the covering that God has established for that family unit, for our wives, for our children. And so if we're not answering the call of God that He's placed on our lives, then the entire family suffers. And if the family suffers, the community suffers.
Yes.
That's good. That's good.
Yes.
All right. Well, that's all the questions we have for this question and answer segment. Now that moment you all have been waiting for, it's time for our giveaway. Be the first caller to call right now. You could win this $25 gift card to a restaurant of your choice. You could choose from Red Lobster, Olive Garden, Longhorn Steakhouse, Bahama Breeze, or Seasons 2. Call right now. 650-TWT-SHOW. For those of you who don't want to do all that on your keypad, it's 650-898-7469. Call right now to win. Okay, so until someone calls, we'll just have a little conversation. Is there anything in particular? That's some good coffee, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Oh, we got a caller. Talking with Trista. Who am I speaking with? Hey, Erica Crosby. Where are you calling from, Erica? Watching all the way from Atlanta? All right, all right. Well, you've won a $25 gift card, Erica. Do you know where you're going to eat at yet?
At the moment, but thank you for that.
Oh, thank you so much for tuning in, Erica. Now, before you go, give us your favorite talk show.
Talking with sister.
All right. I'll talk to you
Love
soon,
you, Erica.
Erica.
All right, thank you, Erica.
All right.
Bye-bye. So congratulations to Erica Crosby watching all the way from Atlanta, Georgia. She just won this $25 gift card. Congratulations, Erica. So I want to just thank you all for being here with me. I had such a great time. And remember that you all can come back anytime. We do this every fourth Friday, 7 p.m. when we have our table talk. So feel free to come back and join me, okay?
All right.
And thank you all. Oh, no problem. And thank you all for watching as well. Remember to tune in every second and fourth Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on Talking with Trista. And if you would like to be a guest on our show, send me an email to talking, TALKIN, with Trista at gmail.com.
Stay tuned for the after
Until
show.
next time.
It's
the Talking with Trista after show. All right.
You provide the fire.
And I'll provide the sacrifice.
Come on, Johnny.
Mm-mm.
You pour out your spirit.
I will open up inside.
Fill me up, God.
Fill me up, God.
Fill me up, God.
Fill me up, God.
Fill me up.
Fill me up, God.
Fill me up, God.
Fill me up.
You provide the fire.
I'll provide the sacrifice.
Yeah, yeah. You provide the spirit.
I'm gonna say with falsetto.
I will open up inside.
Fill me up, God.
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 Fill me up.
Fill me up.
All right. This is the Talking with Tristan after show.